Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of Rahul Sudan Valley podcast. Today, we have a very special guest from Europe. She lives in Spain, handles an operation of the entire Europe continent for a US based direct selling organization. With an immensely successful product range, Elizaveta Kotsaleva, the general manager for Life Vantage, has been able to spread the business across the Europe and for the organization. Today, let's look at the perspective of our general managers, how to bring this business forward. So, let me, ask something which I've always wanted. I was going through your LinkedIn bio and the social media, and you seem to have a lot of European and the East European and probably some Mexico, also South American experience. So, what has been your journey? I mean, all across, what has been your experience in direct selling? Wanted to know if you could just share something about this.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, as you know, I'm Russian. I've been living in outside of the country for over 10 years now, and I lived in South America. Well, that's technically North America, Mexico, Latin America, to be correct, to put it correctly, and Europe. And I started my journey in the direct selling business because I was a teacher of Spanish and translator in Russia, but this is something that doesn't really pay very well. And at a certain point, Herbalife came to me as a translator because they were bringing lots of distributors who were having success in Mexico. So they were looking for a person who would basically travel with, at that point, they were number one distributors in the world, Enrique and Chela Varela, and who would help translate their trainings. Herbalife was a bad word in Russia at that stage. So when actually they reached out to me, I was like, oh my God, no, that's a pyramid scheme. I'm so scared. I'm not going to work with these guys. They're like the bad ones. But then it was such an incredible immersive experience for me because I managed to basically like stay 24/7 with the top distributors in the world. And Enrique and Chela, they're absolutely incredible. They have not only built a very successful business, discovered a new method, but they also have they sponsor an orphans house in Mexico. They're just great human beings, you know. Like being around these people for several weeks and traveling with them all across Russia made me, and meeting other Herbalife distributors made me really change my mind. And understand that this industry is so noble and there are so many things that people are not allowed within the traditional job, traditional business world that they can achieve and that they can make happen within the direct selling industry. That when the company approached me and said, hey, would you like to be our sales rep for the northeastern region of Russia? I was like, yeah, absolutely. It was a great experience. I learned so many things. And then, as much as I love Herbalife, there came a moment when you're a field person, when you're with the people in the field, they always go like, "Yeah, we're number one in the region. We're number one in recruiting. We're number one in this and that. Why don't you get a new rank?" Because, well, obviously they rank advanced, and they suppose that the person who is on the corporate side should be rank advancing with them. And I'm like, I don't know. So I went with my bosses, and the thing was, Herbalife is an amazing company. It's a little bit rigid with growth, though. So I asked what was like the plan for me for the next 5 years, and they said, "Well, keep doing the great job." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, since I'm a field person, I'm so motivated to grow myself that I'll start looking for other opportunities that will let me keep growing as much as I love the company." So this is how I found a job in Mexico in Oriflame. And I was responsible for half of Mexico there. That was really an exciting opportunity to learn from not only about another company, about other type of product, but also get involved with a different culture of business building. And that was a very different stage of my life because in Herbalife, independent distributors are very independent. They don't want you to mess up with their business. And in Herbalife, in Oriflame, I was more like a nanny for them. So I decided I'll start the liberation movement. Corporate people come and go. So we need to make sure that when we leave, these people will be able to do their business on their own. So we did lots of like train the trainers things. That was an amazing epoch. And then I got a funny message on LinkedIn from an American guy who said, "Hey, why do I want to hire a Russian to open a Mexican market?" And I'm like, huh, are you challenging me? So there was this American company called Jamboree who was looking into expanding into Latin American market. Yeah, and they knocked on my door and I became the head of Mexico for Jamboree. that was a bittersweet experience. Sweet because I knew every single leader. They were all like my kids. I built it from scratch, like starting from logistics and everything. And then unfortunately, the head company in the US was not doing very well. So they started closing markets. We were one of them. Yeah, that was a sad moment. But then I got contacted by Isogenics for Spain. So we launched the Spanish market with them. Again, an interesting period, back to shakes, back to weight loss industry, which I really love and appreciate, but from a different perspective, from a perspective of building it in the country where food is so important. A Spaniard would not trade their traditional food for a shake. So making like all this change process, that was really interesting. And then when Vantage, my current company, knocked on my door, I was literally flabbergasted because a product that has no equivalence in any other company, it's all the salesperson can dream about, right? There are lots of amazing shakes, there are lots of amazing cosmetic products, but only Vantage has the product that we have. And that's like a game changer for us. Also taking into consideration that Europe in general is an aging population, and we have the best anti-aging product. And here I am, 4 years in leading 7 markets. I always say I'm the Snow White and the 7 markets.
From a teacher to translator to a field person to being a sales rep or moving to a new location, then moving to a very challenging location in Spain, and then moving jobs, and then heading a company. Wow. How long is this total experience? How much? 15 years in totality?
Yeah, around 15 years.
Okay. That's an impressive track record. And you mentioned that the current company has product line which is kind of doesn't have any equivalence in any of the markets. So you handle entirely the Europe market as of now.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Okay. Now, you also mentioned something about the pyramid thing and the Ponzi scheme. So how are the Spain's laws in terms of direct selling? I mean, are these laws
Mhm.
clear enough for an organization to move ahead? Or are these laws still, work in progress in terms of how they see a binary company, or how would they see a high ticket purchase entry product line companies? How do you see
Mhm.
the law in general and happening in Europe right now for direct selling?
Right. So the good thing is that the legal situation for the direct selling companies in Europe are regulated in general, like by the whole legal system, and it's very, very clear and it's very simple. There is a definition of a pyramid scheme, and the main thing is that a company that does not have a product, like a physical product that you exchange for money, is considered a pyramid scheme. So in this case, like all old and new legit companies where you have a service or something tangible that you exchange for money is considered a legit one, right? So that makes our lives easier. I know that it's a big headache in India. I know it's a huge headache in Canada because I communicate with colleagues. For us, honestly, it's not a headache at all as long as we make the correct claims, which is we cannot claim like become a millionaire in 5 minutes. You don't need anything to start this business as long as we do the legit claims, which is yes, you have an initial starter investment. Yes, you're going to need to input XYZ time in order to do this or that thing. But the good thing is that in general, the European legislation is on our side, so we're not struggling from the legal side. Even now, for example, when my company is doing some changes in the compensation plan, it's not as hard for us in Europe to certify that as, for example, it would be in India, or if it's being, for example, in Canada. So we have the legal people on our side.
I think that's a good thing. And you clearly mentioned, I mean, in India, still the law is in work in progress.
Mhm.
But I also feel there are two things that in the European market which I think Indian law have incorporated. One is the subscription-based model. You
Mhm.
say pay about $50 or $100 or $200 or 200 euros, and you get an access to a portal or an e-commerce thing, and then you get certain discounts or over
Mhm.
using the services. Obviously, that kind of model Indian government is not allowed. They've actually
Oh,
kind of
wow.
stopped it from the day
That's
one.
horrible. We're totally subscription based. And that's actually one of our biggest selling points, that you get people on product. And since our product is so amazing, people keep getting it on subscription. And you as a distributor don't have to do anything, because basically the product and the company do your business for you. So that's a big selling point for us. The only
So,
limitation. Mhm.
yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
The only limitation we have, and it's not just us, it's all the companies that work with the UK, is that there is a cooling period, which is a little bit of a killer for big business builders. From the legal standpoint, a person who signs up as a distributor in the UK cannot spend more than £200 in their first 5 days. So, for example, when the company is built for people to have like bigger starter packs or bigger starter kits in order to quicker qualify for the first stages, this is something that the UK legislation is kind of killing it a little bit, because it's more difficult to upgrade people to a bigger starter kit than to have them buy when they're emotional. So that's a bit of a killer, but yeah, it's there, and that's UK only out of all the European markets.
You mentioned about the cooling off period. So it's like a general 30-day, 45-day period where you can, or is like a more than 45 days?
No, it's actually 5 days. It's 5 days cooling period. So say you join as a distributor under me in the UK, and you see that there are different starter packs and you want to run fast, but I will tell you, no. The only thing you can do is you can only spend £200 in your first 5 days. If you decide to upgrade after that, you're free to do so. But obviously, psychologically, it's very difficult for people to say, do you really want to spend more money on this? Or maybe I'll just wait. So we don't really, well, it's not only us, it's all drug selling companies in the UK. They have this issue. Like the upgrading obviously is not the thing. It's the impulsive, shopping when you see like, I'll just get this £1,000 pack and qualify quickly. You can't. So that's the thing.
What is the refund or a buyback period? Normally, if let's say a consumer or a direct seller is not satisfied with the product, and in how many days he can refund back the product if you want to?
Well, it depends a little bit on the company, but most of the companies in Europe offer 30 days period.
Okay, that's standard, which is a company-owned
Yeah,
initiative.
that's legal. Yeah, that's a legal thing. So we, as like any consumer goods company, we are required to return products in 30 days.
Let's move on to something which I mean this Indian market keeps on harping about is leadership, about how to handle the leadership or the. So one question which comes up with the leadership is separate education systems. So generally, all leadership, when they reach to a level, they will like to have their own set of education system. Does your organization or you as a person, prefer a company education central system which has to be replicated by all, or are you comfortable that as senior leaders can have their own education system adopted?
Well, I've seen both, and I can tell you that both actually work. Right, both actually work. I will tell the limitations that I see in both systems. So when there is an educational system that comes from the company, the pros are definitely that everybody has access to it. It's standardized, so people don't kind of invent their own things. It's compliant, so we as a company control that people say the right things and they don't get into legal issues by saying what they sometimes they become a little bit overwhelmingly creative. It happens. So these are the kind of the pros that I see to this. The cons is that even if the system is created based on what top leaders actually do and have success with, it's still corporate born, which means, and we as corporate people, we don't do the business, right? So the credibility of the system is not like 100%, it's less. And obviously it doesn't create this independency that you want from your leaders. So you have a good corporate trainer, the good corporate trainer leaves and boom, there's a gap, right? So this is kind of the thing that I see there. Right now, I'm in the company where leaders do all the training, which is amazing when you have a great sponsor who has the training system, who teaches you what to do, and which is horrible when you have people like I call orphans. I actually just picked up a couple of orphans and they call me 24/7. How do I place the order? How do I do this? How do I do that? And that's something that is a result of the fact that there is no corporate system where I can basically send them a video and say, hey, this is how you place the order, this is how you do this is how you do that, right? So I'm basically a nanny to this group right now. And that's the issue with when only leaders handle the training system. So I would be maybe a fan of something of a mixed model, especially if you have like very basic things that don't really have to do anything with the building itself. I would probably have corporate trainings on how to place the order, how to, I don't know, place a reclamation, how to claim your product back or whatever. Like, very, very basic thing. I would have it corporate. And then I would probably leave this system of building and the strategy to the leaders. That would be my choice.
So mix and match of a corporate training and a leadership training, and probably some use of books, some material, probably some
Yeah.
videos, and probably some technology,
Yeah.
kind of create a
Yeah.
solution for that.
Yeah, and also one of the things that I believe is that as corporate people, we travel from company to company. So say you can be the best leader in the world in my company, but you've been here for 20 years and you're kind of you're close to your method and to your company and everything. But then corporate people, we pick things and pieces from other companies. It's not my method. I haven't worked it, but I worked with #1 people in Herbalife. I worked with a lady who's #1 in Oriflame worldwide, etc. And I've learned from them. So I'm absolutely sure that I can do a piece of training that's not my experience, but that's the experience of people who are #1 in the world in different companies. So that can also kind of enrich this whole process. That's my belief.
I think that's a very valid point, to create a system where everybody can contribute, but still keeping the essence of the company intact. So that if somebody moves out of the system, at least you have the system moving forward, rather than the entire people moving with the either a corporate trainer or with the top leaders. Got it. Liz, what do you think about the future of direct selling? What do you think? I mean, with this time changing, with the technology changing, with the gig economy coming up like anything, and so how do you think? I mean, it's and plus the D2C market. I mean, it's becoming big. The e-commerce is becoming big. Do you think direct selling will remain the same into the touch, the feel? It will remain the same, or you think it will change? Something will.
I believe that there are certain things that will have to change. If you don't evolve, you die. And some of the things that need to evolve in the direct selling are the following. So if you have like these complicated, overwhelming compensation plans where you need to make sure that they're like 5 people in your first level that match like other 6 people with a different rank in your second level, and you also need to take into consideration what's happening in your 10th level because that will influence your first level. People are not doing this anymore, right? So these overwhelming, like heavy, hardcore, old style compensation plans will die, whether we like it or not. We know they're stable. We know that people who are on top of these old, like, I don't know, Step Breakaway, just to give you an example. Step Breakaway has been the mother and father of all our compensation plans, like in Amway, in Herbalife, etc. But as realistically speaking, as a person who work with the field, when you try to teach them the Step Breakaway, what percentage of our field leaders really understand Step Breakaway? If 1% does, I would be surprised. They kind of work intuitively towards something, but they don't really have the vision and the understanding of that. So it really needs to be simple. And that's also because we've been in this plug and play thing for so many years already. People are used to simple and easy things. So making this complicated, overwhelming scheme in their head and having to calculate it all the time. And especially when we say, you don't really need like anything to do this business. You don't need a business degree. You don't need to, you can be a housewife. You don't need to read. You don't need to know how to write, etc. And then we give them a super complicated compensation plan. These things don't really match. So I think this is one of the first things that needs to change. The second thing is more kind of an affiliate business versus the traditional split of you have those business builders and you have those customers, and you have a totally different treatment towards them. So this affiliate model that works with literally everything. I share my Uber code with you. I have a discount. You have a discount. I share my like those shareable links where everybody gets benefited from like actually sharing things. This is something I believe is really important, and this is the model that many companies are adjusting right now, including ourselves. With the new compensation plan that's already been launched in 3 markets in Vantage, and that's coming in the rest of the markets, precisely tends towards the affiliate model more than anything else. And I believe that's the future. And then obviously, another thing is, as you say, social media and being online and being digital. Whether we like it or not, this is the future. I see how Oriflame is struggling right now in Latin America. They don't have an app. They don't have anything actually to share. Also, I see the things that people post on social media, like I don't know. I love my skincare. That's not the kind of post that will actually engage and that will bring you sales or bring you anything. Like the storytelling, all of us becoming micro influencers through what we do. That's one of the things that we need to teach our field, and this is something that will actually bring them the fast income and the satisfaction. And one more thing from the marketing standpoint. I think this is especially true after COVID, and since COVID, it's been a trend. People do purchase things they actually don't need because they need to have this like frugal moment of happiness. I want to feel happy with something that I purchased, whether it's a phone case, whether it's, I don't know, a Tupperware or whatever thing with a Hello Kitty on it. I need this happiness coming out of product, right? So, and this is where marketing probably needs to evolve, because the traditional marketing, like, you will become beautiful with this. What is the message behind it? Oh, okay. So you're trying to tell me I'm not beautiful as I am, and I need your product to change me into something that I'm not. It doesn't work this way any longer. So the marketing perspective is, you are amazing as you are. Your life is great, but this thing will bring you this moment of happiness that will enlighten your day. And so I believe this is kind of the trend that marketing needs to take in the direct selling in order to keep people engaged with whatever it is, whether it's a Tupperware product, it's a hand cream, whether it's some pills that will make you live forever or whatever.
You've touched 2 important points, Liz. One is the compensation plan. The other is the personalized nutrition, or the, how you really get onto the selling of the products.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just a question. It's a very, very vague question, but so the bigger organizations, they struggle with, when they move to a new country, is with the country specific competition that comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are compensation plans which might be better because of the dynamics, maybe the pricing of that particular place, or maybe there are smaller organizations which are not as big. So bigger corporations generally get this struggle that they don't have a very, very light plan, in the sense they can't change too frequently.
Mm-hmm.
And the smaller companies, they change their compensation plan too much. I mean, you have organizations now, they're changing plan twice a year.
Yeah.
So how do you balance it out? I mean, what is the psychology behind it? I mean, because see, most of the leaders will, they'll come up. I will not use the word disgruntled, but they all have the inputs of getting something or the other in the plan. I think managing leadership over the compensation has become one of the issues where you find a lot of people moving across the industry. How do you manage this thing? I mean, I wanted to have an insight on this.
Well, obviously, changing the compensation plan is like, you get your marriage contract and go like, yeah, by the way, we're changing this and this and this. Now you wash the dishes and I do the cleaning, and you go like, we never agreed to that, right? So it's a very painful process, and it's double painful because it is a unilateral process, right? So it's always pushed by the company. It's never the leaders raising their hands and saying, oh, by the way, we've been working like this for ages, why don't you guys change the compensation plan for us? It's always pushed by the company, and this is why there's always a pushback from the leaders. When companies try to work too much with leaders on the compensation plan changes, because I've seen that, I haven't seen good results there, because leaders have, and that's normal, their mind is set on how will this compensation plan pay more to myself, versus the company has to think, how will this compensation plan be beneficial for me as a company, right? So the approaches are too different. So I don't know. I'm not sure leaders should actually be involved in the discussions. That's a hard point when you actually make them face, hey, this is the change, but this is how it has to be done from the corporate standpoint. What I feel is that finally, this is a business, right? And as a business, we need to see the how well it pays for us as a company. We have stakeholders if we're a public company. We have owners if it's a if it's a private company. So finally, whether we like it or not, the starting point is the financial point. Is the compensation plan that we have at this point something that will make us evolve? Is this something that's going to make us grow? This is our 5-year, 10-year plan. Are we going to hit our goals with the current compensation plan? If the answer is no, then the change is needed. As much painful as it is needed. The second thing you mentioned, which is a very valid point, there are companies that go around like playing with compensation plans and changing them like, I don't know, nail polish color, which is not the case. I would say that the compensation plan change, if you want to use a metaphor, it's like a medicine, but it's like an aspirin. I have a headache. I took my aspirin and the headache is gone. Compensation plan, since it's a very painful procedure, it's more like you have to break a bone and then make it heal again. It will take time. So there needs to be a conscious, both from the corporate and the field side. Field side is more complicated, so I would put in more promotions and more fun stuff happening there. But from the corporate side, there needs to be an understanding that it's like a healing bone. You need to give it time before it starts working as it was before it was broken, right? So frequent changes are definitely hurtful for the business, while the change itself is needed. And we see many companies actually do this change more or less now in these times, because many understand that, again, those heavy old style hardcore plans do not fit into the modern mindset.
I fully agree with you, Liz, on this. I mean, it's one reason where most of the organization are struggling. It's not when they make a compensation plan, is when you actually push into the field that is struggling. Now, one thing you also touched is about the product line. So the personalized nutrition, I mean, how people are now being sold nutrition. How does your strategy work? How do you sell your nutritional products? I mean, we have heard it's one of the best in the Europe right now, and it's growing at a very phenomenal pace. So how does the business happen? How does the acquisition happen in terms of the nutrition space? How are the products being placed? I just wanted to have an insight on this. If you could just share what your experience would be.
Right. So I would say that, and I mean, you being from India understand it better than anybody. Food in certain cultures is a very special topic, right? So everything that concerns like eating, cuisine is a part of national culture for many countries. So when you kind of try to get inside of this bubble, it's very complicated, right? And for some countries, it's more complicated, it's more challenging than for others. In my case, I can say that, for example, any kind of nutritionals in Russia work very easily because we don't have such a rich cuisine, so to say. So, okay, I can replace whatever with a shake. I don't care. I don't really like my breakfast. Come to a Spaniard and tell them they need to replace their traditional Spanish breakfast with something. Or come to a Mexican and tell them they need to replace their incredible soup, pozole, with something like a shake. And they will go, are you serious? You really need to sell it to me. I need to know why. I need to understand, why do I need to change, right? So I believe, and I'm sorry for saying this out loud, I hope this is not going to be published anywhere. It's a huge brainwash work. It's a huge brainwash work because as much as we've been brainwashed recently into the fact that you can have organic food, which is not that organic, or you can have all those natural products, which are not that natural, there needs to be an understanding that, unfortunately, in the current situation where we live, with all the pollution, with all the stress, with all the things that are happening around us, with all the new viruses, I can actually see behind you the cover of Direct Selling Today that I participated in. I remember that one. So with all these things, with all the scary things that are around us, unfortunately, you cannot eat an apple a day and that will keep a doctor away. That's 19th century. It doesn't work this way any longer. We have way more challenges in our life. So one of the things that we are trying to do here, specifically with all the rich European cuisine tradition, trying to change the nutritional, the vision of nutrition and what you really need is, I would say the best customer is the scared customer. So I kind of softly scare people and make them see their future, right? So one of those things that I personally do when I train people is I say, okay, fine. So we're here in Europe, lots of tradition, lots of history. How old are most of you? So most people will be over 30, 40, etc., right? So my question will be, okay, fine. So ladies, a question for you. Do you think if we lived in the 14th century, do you think you would be alive? They go like, no, definitely no. We would have died giving a birth to somebody, to our 10th baby, or plague or something else. I'm like, cool. Guys, do you think you would have been alive? And guys go like, no, of course no. We would have died in some crusade or something. And I go, fine. Look, now we are expected to live. So in the 17th century, where people were happy with an apple a day, that was enough for them because their life expectancy was very short, right? Now in this modern life, let's just try to imagine this. I'm 45 myself, right? I'm supposed to be a perfect wife, a perfect mom, look good, build a corporate career, and not to die. And I'm not supposed to look like a grandmother that I would be looking like if I lived in the 17th century. And I'm supposed to keep up with all that and lift weights and do healthy lifestyle till I'm what, 80, 90, 100. So it's a totally different concept. So you cannot stick to an apple a day when everything around this has absolutely changed. So this is the kind of brainwashing work that I do. And
it makes sense. I mean, it's not a brainwashing actually. It's a sales skills, and all moms, if they have to sell a medicine to their kids, they will have to talk to in the language their kids would understand. Now, understanding one thing is also is something which comes as part of a training where you actually inculcate all these trainings and you download to your people. Generally, one question generally people will ask is, whom to consider as an upline? Who is the one person we need to follow? And so what advice do you give to I mean, there are people who don't have an upline. I mean, obviously they'll keep on calling you as a nanny. That's a separate thing. But how do you define them? Who is an upline? Why? I mean, what qualities should an upline should have? I mean, how do you guide them? What is your
right.
take on that?
Yeah, that's a painful question because this is a business of relationships, and sometimes you can get overwhelmingly enthusiastic when you sign up with me, but then I don't answer your phone call, and you go, "Oh, she doesn't like me. She doesn't want to work with me." So you wanna look for another upline, or you want to switch to a different line, which is obviously not permitted in most of the companies, etc. So as you say, it's a part of a daily job dealing with my mom doesn't love me anymore. And this is obviously one of the things that we have to make people conscious about, right? I always say treat other people like they treat you. And when the question pops up, like, I want to change, I want to go to another sponsor. I go, okay, fine. So now just imagine the situation when somebody in your downline tries to do the same to you. Do you think it's fair? This person did his or her job. Let's say he or she is your mom or dad. We can have amazing parents, but we can have horrible parents as well, right? There are parents who leave their kids in the orphan houses, whether we like it or not. So treat it as a family. You can have an amazing parent, or you can have a horrible parent. And there are also different periods in your relationship with your parents, with your sponsors, with your uplines. You can have better periods, you can have worse periods. It really depends on the stage where you are at, where they are at. We're all humans here. So I always advise them to go to the next upline as high as they can if for some reason there's a broken communication there, and I will be the one who will definitely help them to connect, or like do a three-way chat and say, hey, this is your grandmother, or this is your grandfather in the tree, just to make sure that they stick to the same line, and that they keep working with those people. But sometimes when it's kind of lost, I'm actually a mom to a weird group. I don't even know who their upline is. They were kind of totally lost, but that was from the cultural perspective. They're Lithuanian, and they have people like in the US, they don't want to stick to them for some reason. And since it's like an ex-Soviet Union, they stuck to me. So sometimes you do have to pick them up. But in most cases, I will try to make sure that they stick within the same line. Or with the if there's another kind of friendly team that accepts orphans, I would always ask like, hey, can this group attend your meetings, etc. But in this case, I need to make it very clear. It's a very tricky thing, and you need to be very sure that they're super ethical. Nobody will be poaching nobody, etc. So I try to avoid it as much as I can.
Great, Liz. Liz, one thing too many questions on my mind actually. So technology has shifted. I mean, you have seen in last 15 years, probably when you worked with Oriflame and you worked with Herbalife now, Isogenics, and now you move to a Life Vantage scenario. Primarily, it's post-COVID scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Has the technology impacted the customer service in any sense? Have the customer service improved with the help of technology? If yes, I mean, what things have you done separately? I mean, have you made any effort in putting technology in the customer service? The response time is reduced, or people don't talk too much, or they actually call up the call centers and ask the questions.
Mm-hmm.
How do you
Right.
use technology in customer service?
Right. So in our case, we don't have physical office or any facilities here in Europe. So we work with the US directly. So there's never a possibility for my people to actually kind of knock on the door of anywhere. We've been call center people since day one. And some of the things that I really appreciate is that we've been implementing things that are more market focused and market accepted. So, for example, one of the things that's huge in Europe is WhatsApp. People prefer WhatsApp to whatever. So, we implemented a WhatsApp line for our top leaders, and they can actually text their account managers at any point. It's easier for them versus calling and explaining things. So the numbers are there and like the screenshots and everything. So we kind of try to adjust to that point. So yeah, in our case, it's always been like that. So I wouldn't say we had like a huge change since we don't have a physical office. It's been online
So,
for us all the time.
so how does the shipment happen? So you have only warehouses in Europe or in Spain,
Yeah,
probably?
from that standpoint, yes, we have a warehouse in the UK and we have another warehouse in the Netherlands. But that's all company handled. So I mean, distributors don't have anything to do with this. They go on the website, they place an order. If they have an issue, they call customer support or they WhatsApp their account managers, and the rest is on us.
So how does the legality happen? Doesn't a law in the state or the country requires that an organization should have an office in the particular country? Or it's like one office in EU is good enough for the entire EU?
We don't actually have any office. So we
I mean,
have
that's a plus. I mean, India, that's the challenge. I mean, India being India works like similar in USA in terms of the federal economy. So, I mean, we have to have a lot of offices out here in India.
right. No, we don't. We have a legal address. But that's it. We don't. I work from home. So
That sounds exciting enough. I mean, that's one thing we should take note of it in the gig economy. Uh, let's now, some few general things I wanted to know about you. Whom do you think are the three top trainers you have met in life? People you think they have been the excellent trainers, your personal favorites in terms of trainers?
well, my number one, whether we like it or not, and maybe that's old style, old cool, old school, whatever we want to say. Jim Rohn is still there. Uh,
Okay.
and I can tell you why, because probably it's my personal thing, because I had the honor of translating all his videos he did for Herbalife into Russian.
Wow.
So I basically lived together with Jim Rohn videos for a year. And when you actually translate them, you kind of live through them, you feel them, you understand them deeper and better. And sometimes things he says, they're very kind of, they seem simple, like, yeah, there are seasons in life, yeah, there's winter, there's spring, there's, but you know what, when there's a desperate person like, why my business is not growing, did you plant the seeds? No, you didn't. What do you want to grow if you haven't planted your seeds? So yeah, that's basic, but that's the basic thing, like, I don't know, washing your teeth or like taking a shower, that still needs to be done. So I would say that those simple things help me a lot. precisely teaching other people in very basic situations with very basic words, with very simple examples. So I would still say Jim Rohn is there for me. I love Fraser Brooks. His maybe because he's like very European, young, kind of sparkly. And again, Fraser does simple things. There's no, and he's very clear about the fact there's no magic. And maybe one of the things that I like about him is that he's not super pushy. Yeah, European guy. So that's like very different from American. I mean, we have as a company, we have very close relationship with Eric Worre. His son used to work for us. So I mean, I've been on Eric's trainings and everything. I love him to death, but he's so American for us that I would not put him on stage for my leaders. Honestly, though we had Fraser many times with us. And then another person that I would probably highlight in this case, it's not a person from the direct selling space. Oh my God, just give me a second. He's this sport training guy. I have him here. Tim Grover. Tim Grover. Yeah. I know it's not like he is close to my personal philosophy. This is probably not something I would push towards my distributors, but I'm a go-getter myself. I'm the kind of a person that falls 9 times and lifts 10 times, and takes a selfie to send it to the people like, you thought I'm fallen? No way. And this is his philosophy. It's the philosophy of a go-getter, of a pusher, of a winner. And this is something that helps me personally to stay the person that I am.
Go-getter. I think that's that's one word. If somebody has to define Liz, would be a correct word to do. I mean, I watch your videos on LinkedIn and during the COVID time also. I mean, you went, I think, total gymming and all, total into fitness in that period. I saw your videos. So that pretty much describes so much about Liz. Uh, I think, Liz, I have my question and my set of answers for you that I wanted to know about you. And it's been a pretty much one-sided thing. I mean, I've not really allowed you to ask anything about us and all. So in case you want to know something about us, that's also we can okay and discuss. I was actually so much intrigued, but how does the global direct selling business happens? I mean, in India, we are there for the last 22 years. Direct selling has been in India, but legality is there just about for 2-3 years actually.
Mm-hmm.
Now the laws are shaping up, so the market is opening up, and we starting looking at more information or best practices from best people. You learn and imbibe.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the reason for all this interaction. And where do you see a life Vantage from here? Uh, okay, I'll rephrase this question. In India, there's a culture. I will say companies having 200 or 300 SKUs, a vis company having about 50 to 70 SKUs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you have a 300 SKUs, you're talking about completing entire range from personal care, wellness to home
Mm-hmm.
to cutlery to crockery to travel to
Yeah.
everything happening on this. 50-70 product line means a very either a community specific program, probably for females or doctors or anybody,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a combination of a wellness and a cosmetic. So what is your thing? Do you think that this 300 SKUs or 400 SKUs is the solution way forward?
Mm-hmm.
Or a niche market, a niche product line with a very specific storyline is the future for direct selling? What do you think? Which is better?
I would say the thing I'm going to say right now will sound horrible and classy. Uh, but I will have
Horrible
to
and
say,
classy. Horrible and classy both at the same time.
yeah. So, I mean, the issue is we have different target groups within sales for whatever, right? So you will have here in Spain, Spain is the country of wine, right? You will have a bottle of wine that costs less than €1 and people will buy it. And you have a bottle of wine that costs 10,000 euros and people will buy it, right? And we always need to understand that absolutely the same. Direct sales are still sales. Nothing is going to happen differently in the direct sales selling world from the selling perspective, right? There will be people who will want to have a niche product, who will want to buy something very specific, like a very specific solution. And this will be a small group of people, but will be paying loads of money for something. Versus there will be people, and I include myself, whatever I can buy from direct selling companies, I buy it from the direct selling companies. My husband is signed up in, I think, like 15 to 20 companies. I think I cannot do this. He's signed up in Avon, Amway, Herbalife. If I want a product, I go and buy it through his account. Also because I want to spy on other companies a little bit. And I want to see what they do and how the packaging comes and how soon it arrives and everything. But also because I want to get some cheap things, better price, whatever. So I will be buying it from the direct selling companies, right? So I believe there will still be like this huge world of, I don't know, Avon-like reps where people do want their physical catalog that's huge, and you want to see 20 shades of lipstick. It will not go away. Just like you have, I don't know, it's difficult for me to compare, I don't know, the Indian, for example, clothing market. Like here in Europe, we have Primark. It's cheap, lots of things, and you go there with $100 and you go out with 10 bags, right? But then you have an Armani store, and you will, with this $100, you will probably buy one belt if you're lucky, right? But people use both, and I'm absolutely sure that as direct selling companies, we need to be, we cannot have one successful model, just like we cannot have one successful clothing model. Everybody's buying cheap or everybody's buying expensive. There will always be for different kind of people. And that, again, that sounds horrible, and that's it should not exist, but it is a fact. Just to give you an example, Oriflame, for some reason in Mexico, is considered to be high-end product because it's European, and you see very posh ladies in Mexico buying this because they say, oh yeah, that's European, we don't want American stuff. So they do go to the meetings because they believe it's posh. While in Russia, Avon is considered posh, and Oriflame is considered like for, I don't know, second-class people. That's weird. That's ridiculous. It's more or less the same level, honestly, from the product standpoint, but it's just a psychological thing. And whether we like it or not, the society is, unfortunately, has those different layers, and people from different layers would not want to mix up even with the product categories they're consuming. Oh, I'm a Lancome person, or I'm an Oriflame person. And we as salespeople need to be very conscious of that. So for us, we're lucky to have a product story, which is nerve to activation, anti-aging, etc. And one of the things that I've seen is that when we brought in the products that were not in line with our product story, they didn't work. Just to give you an example, we just discontinued, there was a protein, which was no way aligned to what we are. And we discontinued the product because it just doesn't make sense within our product story. But when the product story is, hey, this is your catalog and you'll be able to buy whatever you want, and it's going to be cheaper, and you're going to help a woman from Mexico, Spain, India to earn some extra dollars with this, that's a different story. And both have the opportunity in the future. I'm absolutely sure about this.
Okay, so probably a combination of both the things will survive. I mean, it has to be a balance between both.
Yeah, I think so. And again, I myself will go and buy some expensive products, and I will want to save some money on others, right? So
both the things can exist. Okay. Liz, another personal question. Top 3 places for vacation. What do you think? What are your personal favorites?
oh my God. I'm a fan of Mexico, so there's always places like Cancun or Baja California. They're amazing, beautiful beaches, beautiful places, great food. I'm a foodie. Portugal, here in Europe. again, beautiful scenery, amazing people, lots of history. That will be my second place. And I know it's not very obvious. People go for like Spain. No, Spain, Portugal. Always Portugal over Spain.
Okay, but it's the other way around in my home actually. My son follows football actually, and I promised him that I've taken him to Spain actually. So
Okay.
that's
If you need any help tips or whatever on where to stay, where to go, feel free to text me. I'm always happy to help.
okay. I am counting on you because he wants to at least have one visit to Spain. I mean, it's just a football thing with him. He's a Messi
Make
fan
sure,
actually.
make sure that after Spain you go to Portugal and you will see the difference. It's close. It's just, I
It's
mean,
close. It's close.
same thing. And actually, India is on my bucket list, both from culinary and historical and cultural view. I've never been there, but since the Soviet times when the contacts were so close, etc. And yeah, that's on my bucket list. Have never been there. So another place for vacation, funnily, I absolutely love big cities. So places like Mexico City, which is not good for tourists, but I just love the vibe of the big city, or New York, the vibe of the big city. These are the places where I would always go for a good Broadway show, good museum, or stuff things.
Right, right. Yes. So there are now moving on to where I mean something which is off the track. I mean just whatever is coming in my mind. So there are these universities which have come up in direct selling. So you have something in Honduras and Ecuador, I believe, which are direct selling universities. And there are people who do these direct selling courses, professional people, a 3 month or a 4 month diploma course or a certificate course. Then you also have a Utah or a Texas where you have a direct selling opportunity, education funds also happening. Are you a firm believer of having a regular course in direct selling, or it is a company specific knowledge that works? I mean, do you
I would
think that's, yeah,
I would say that it goes like against the whole spirit of direct sales. Because what we sell as the industry is you don't need anything to start this business, right? So why would I want to educate myself in something? And again, what is this something going to be? Specifically, if I have a binary plan, that's one thing. If I have a step breakaway, it's another thing. And though the bases are the same, go, recruit, talk, be in action. I don't really think that for field people, a career is even kind of aligned with what we say. For corporate people, I would say that the important thing, well, my primary education, I'm a teacher of English and Spanish, thank you. So then I got a master's degree in coaching, and then I got my MBA literally like 2 years ago. That was just something I was catching up on, more for the purpose of having a little bit more formal education in the field versus then just, I don't know, maybe even getting the knowledge there. I believe that working with field leaders and being at least in a couple of companies is something that opens up our minds as corporate people versus taking a formal course in direct selling. And again, as a direct seller, you can be, I don't know, if you're a finance person, you will still need more of a like basic finance stuff
and
versus like something that applies precisely to direct sales. As a marketing person, you still need like to catch the trends and know what's going on wherever in the marketing space, whether it's what Apple is launching, whether it's, I don't know, the last Armani collection, whatever. You need to be kind of into the whole trend of what's happening in marketing. If you're an IT person, you just need to be a good IT person. I will explain you what to do. So I truly believe that we need to be specialists in what we actually do as corporate people, whether it's sales or whether it's I don't know, finance or IT, and then we can easily apply it to the industry. That's my belief.
okay, well said. Point noted. Right, Les, I think we're coming to the end of the time. I believe you had given me a time frame, so we'll have to stick to the time frame. And it's been so kind and gracious of you to, share your knowledge with us. Any message to the upcoming direct sellers about the industry, the future of direct selling? Anything you want to say?
Oh my God. Yeah, when somebody sees this recording in 90 years, no, I'm kidding. I would say that the most important thing is not to complicate simple things. And when we try to find, both as corporate and field people, when we try to find the secret formula, there's no secret formula for anything in this world. If you want a perfect skin, you need to do your skincare routine. If you want to be in shape, you need to exercise. If you want to build a successful direct selling business, you just need to do the basic things, which is keep talking. Keep talking. Both as corporate, we need to communicate with our field people, and as field people, we need to spread the word about the product. If we shout our mouth at a certain point, we're dead. So keep talking.
Keep talking. Thank you, Liz, for the wonderful knowledge that you've shared with us. I'm sure the viewers of Direct Selling Today channel and the subscribers of the Direct Selling Today magazine would be immensely benefited from your insights on training, leadership, and above all, the future of direct selling industry. Anyone who wishes to know more about the how this information can be shared with you can connect to us on the numbers mentioned below. So till the time we meet again, it's goodbye from Rahul Sudan Value Podcast, the show that connects all. Thank you so much. Have a great day. God bless you.